Hello everyone, welcome back to the Natural Disaster episode number 2. I'm the program host Wen Yu. Today's episode will involve a trip to Malaysia. We are well aware the floods are caused by waterways that are already full. When flooding occurs quickly, it's referred to as a flash flood. Don't you want to learn more about it? Then welcome to our invite guests. Please, before we get started.
Hello, I'm Jonas, a psychologist for mental health consequence for victims.
Hi guys, I'm Wei Feng, an environmentalist working for the local government.
Hi, hello everyone. I'm Yusian, a researcher conducting a survey for Malaysians who have or have not experienced flash flood before.
Alright, so I'm indeed curious about why Malaysians have to endure fast food mostly every year. Wifong, could you explain this to us from an environmentalist point of view, and how exactly did it negatively impact the victim?
Of course, I have traveled to different parts of Malaysia as I remember where the local were severely harmed. Each year, Peninsular Malaysia region suffer the most of a result flash flood. But now, things have changed. The city have also been affected. The north monsoon season, which runs from March to December, is when flash are most likely to occur. Heavy rainfall is produced, especially in the state near Peninsular Malaysia, is caused the water level to rise in several spaces.
I see. I'm curious about the quantity of flood affected area. May I know what is the estimate amount of the flood victim? Besides, how did it affect the victim badly?
As of December 19, 2022, there are 81 flood affected areas, although dispersed throughout 20 districts in 5 states: Terengganu, Johor, Kelantan, Pahang, and Perak. Well, based on the research that I made, the number of flood victims at the end of the year 2022 reached more than 45,000 in 5 states, which Kelantan and Terengganu the hardest hit.
Wow, that's much more than the number of victims I expected. Is there any way to reduce the number of flood victims?
There are some answers offered by the Malaysian government. First, in order to regulate floods, and the lesson is fluent. The government intends to create permanent flood control commission. The second step is set up the flood disaster relief organization with the aims of coordinating relief effort at the federal, state, and local level. The third step entire conduction river basin analysis and creating drainage master plans for significant municipalities and establishment of the national network of hydrogeological flood data gathering station is the final step.
I feel it's a nice solution. Hopefully, those solutions will help in reducing the number of flood victims. Thank you for the explanation, Wifong. Next, we'll then transfer to Jonas, the psychologist who has been assisting Malaysian flood victims. Before we go into our topic today, Jonas, can you briefly explain your current jobs? I'm really curious as what psychologists do in their work and how can psychology relate to our talk today.
A psychologist is to investigate people's thinking, to understand their behavior and emotions. On the other hand, we also comprehend contemporary concerns. Sociology studies society as a whole, including families, corporations. Besides, individuals might worry about the flash floods returning. Anxiety, discomfort, and more other psychological effects of flash floods in Malaysia.
Amazing support of the victim, I must say. On the other hand, how are these mental diseases possible in flood victims?
They might be losing their loved ones in flash floods. After losing loved ones, people had to deal with anguish and agony. In contrary, most individuals might worry about flash floods returning. Victims are predicted to develop PTSD if the floods continue.
That's interesting. Anyway, does the government give any treatment to the flood victim?
As I know, there is no treatment to given to the flood victims. As flood victims may develop psychopathologies. Therefore, the government should provide victims with adequate psychological therapies to help them heal from the terrible experience and return to regular life. However, there are some social groups like the NGO that are collecting to provide essential supplies to flash flood victims.
I totally agree with Jonas. The social economy will be damaged. For instance, our study found that 38.1% of households are affected by the flash floods. This could cause financial loss, reconstruction, and more.
Thanks for the detail that was shared by Jonas and Wei Feng. My last question here to Janet is whether philosophy and logic are count as a part of psychology. Am I right? But how can logic and philosophy can discuss based on flash flood?
My answer would be yes. A related between philosophy studies and logic in psychology. As we discuss flash floods in Malaysia, we must consider the growing number of casualties and official measures. Many feel flash floods in Malaysia are still a problem because the government has a clear strategy to avoid them. There is no truth or false in government strategies. They tried their best to reduce the number of flood victims. Flash floods can be mitigated, but our government cannot eradicate them.
Based on what we have discovered, 55.7%, which is the majority of the responses, the government is responsible for the worsening of flood conditions, while 32.8% of the responses think that it is the citizens' fault. 24 responses out of 45 suggest that we should improve the drainage system by building broader drains. Meanwhile, the best tool to get flood disaster warning information is through social media with 67.2% responses and direct alerts from the police or fire stations.
Thank you to Jonas and Isha for the sharing. I like the last sentences that were said by Jonas. I feel it made me think that sometimes we couldn't blame our government, shouldn't we? This is a natural disaster as it is indeed a good fact. Now we will have our researcher Yu Xian. Can I know what study you did based on the flash flood in Malaysia?
You know, we carried out a survey to investigate flash flood cause and effects. Our study managed to raise awareness and help minimize flash floods in Malaysia. We cracked a Google Sheets as an online survey to allow everyone with the link to participate in our studies, and Malaysians flash flood were discussed. There is around 60 Malaysians completed the anonymous survey.
Wow, that's cool. We can see many of them are very active to give response through their survey. Can you briefly tell us what the question was like? And I'm quite curious about the age of the participant and where they came from.
Add multiple choices, 4 short answers, 1 yes or no questions, and 4 to 5 point scale items. Well, most of them are 20 to 21 years old students. There are 21% of the audience resides in Selangor, 14.5% of them are from Johor, and 11.3% are from Putrajaya and Sarawak.
This is quite interesting. May I know how many of them have never experienced a flash flood?
66.1% of them had never encountered a flash flood. There is just 32.3% of the respondents had. In 20 and 22, 15.4% of 32.3% had it. 5.6% was severe impact by the flash floods, while 27.8% were unaffected. 64% of respondents seldom experience flash floods in their locations, whereas 2% do.
Oh my gosh, I feel bad for those who experience it. I want to know more about the most harm caused by the flash flood to the respondents.
I know, right? Well, flash floods harm the respondents' house, most chosen by them. 38.1% of our respondents chose it, following by infrastructures, agriculture, and cars are the least harmful to our respondents. On the other hand, there is 26.8% of them said flash flood disrupts their regular routines.
Agree with it. Flash flood really bring harm to us, although it's just a small harm. Thanks for Yushan sharing based on the survey that he created. Thank you so much for attending today. I'm honored to have you all as my guests as I honestly learned a lot today. Alright everyone, it was fun whilst it lasts. Hope to see you guys again in next episode. Goodbye!